Hello, my fellow music lovers, and welcome to the channel. Thank you for stopping by, and wanted to talk about Greta Van Fleet and their new single that has just dropped within the past couple of weeks called When the Curtain Falls. It's the new single from their forthcoming album. This is going to be their first full-length album. Up to this time, they've only put out EPs, and that's been really what has been powering all the talk and all the excitement around this new band. And so their new album is going to be due out in the fall. And so this new single, I guess, kind of gives us maybe a little bit more of a glimpse as to what we're going to be in for. And it kind of sounds like what we've already heard, really. I can't tell you that there's anything here that is mind-blowing or groundbreaking, and I just thought I'd share my thoughts about it, and kind of give you my overall sense of where Greta Van Fleet kind of fits into the whole rock scene and the comparisons that are being made to another band that we know and love from yesterday, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. But as for this new single, When the Curtain Falls, it's a rockin' song. It's got some good bass, some good guitar work in it. Lead singer, the Zeppelin-esque singer, or I should say the Robert Plant sound-alike. He's in fine form, doing his thing. And what can I tell you? It's not a bad song. It rocks. It grooves. It's got everything we pretty much expected and wanted to hear from Greta Van Fleet at this time. But you know what? I was listening to it, and as much as I heard that it was, a good song, I kept asking myself, why is it that I don't give a shit? Like it's good, but why don't I care? Like, what's wrong with me? Or what's wrong with this song? What's going on here? And I thought about it, and it just seems to me like, as good as it is, 5 minutes later, I'm looking for something else. It kind of reminds me of like Chinese takeout. A half hour later, you're looking for something else to eat. And I think that the thing about this is that while it's a good song, it just is nothing I haven't heard before. It just sounds like a rehash of, or a recycling of sounds and riffs and grooves and whatever it is that, nothing new here. I could see how maybe, the younger generations or people who don't really care as much about this sort of thing could really get into it and want to play it 20 times in a row. But I just don't. I just don't have it in me to do that. I've heard the comparisons to Led Zeppelin, and it's just, to me, aside from the vocal, the lead singer definitely is channeling Robert Plant. No question about it. You can tell that he's done his homework on Plant, and there are times where he almost sounds like Robert Plant. And there's certain parts of Robert Plant's range, certain parts of what Robert Plant does. He even has some of his onstage mannerisms. There's certain things, but that's it when it comes to the whole Zeppelin thing. And I really wish that we would drop the whole comparing them to Led Zeppelin. I've heard people say, oh yeah, they sound just like Led Zeppelin. They don't sound just like Led Zeppelin, folks. I even went back to refresh my memory of what Zeppelin looked like and sounded like back in 1969. I'm going to put a link down below so you can check it out for yourself. If you go back and look at what Zeppelin was doing in 1969, they were a little bit older than these guys for the most part. Robert Plant was, I think, 21 in 1969, whereas the lead singer for Greta Van Fleet, I think he's like 19. The other brothers, the twins, are 21. And, Jimmy Page at that point, he had already been in the Yardbirds. I think he was about 25 when the first Zeppelin album came out. But you go back and look at the footage of Zeppelin back in 1969 for their first album. I mean, they are a completely different beast. They blow away Greta Van Fleet in every way, shape, or form. They're two totally different bands. Led Zeppelin had this way of mastering the dynamics of a performance. I mean, the accents that Bonham would do on his drum, John Paul Jones with his bass. I mean, you go back and listen to something like Dazed and Confused. I mean, the shadowing, the light and the dark, the contrast of, bringing things down, bringing things up, smacking you in the face. Plant's vocals, I mean, come on, the guy from Greta Van Fleet, he has some moments where he sounds like Plant, but for the most part, Robert Plant is, 10 times better, if not 100 times better. Has much more range and a much, much better voice. The guy from Greta Van Fleet, I really don't want to listen to him a whole lot. Like, I feel like after I'm done with a couple of songs, I get tired of his voice. Whereas with Robert Plant, it's a whole nother thing. I could listen to Robert Plant sing all day. So I just think that any kind of a comparison to Led Zeppelin is just not really warranted. Like I said, you want to talk about the vocals, yeah, but other than that, Greta Van Fleet, to me, sounds like a rehash. And but taking the Led Zeppelin stuff out of this picture, I don't want to come down too hard on these guys, as I've already done a video about them. And I do think that they have brought rock and roll back to the forefront. Because let's face it, the rock scene currently has just been boring and dull. And these guys do seem to have this freshness and this excitement, even though it's nothing I haven't heard before. I'd rather see that than to see some other boring bullshit. And I think that Greta Van Fleet has got potential. These kids know how to play, and I'm willing to give them time to develop and do something. Maybe they will do something that will blow our minds or sound really, really good. They're not at that point now. So I don't want to come down too hard on them. I just don't want to compare them to one of the best bands that's ever been around. I think it does them a disservice, kind of like when I was doing the video about the hair metal, and how, the word metal. Don't use the word metal. You want to hear metal, go listen to Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. Go listen to Master of Puppets, Hell Awaits by Slayer. That's metal for your ass. Not, Cinderella or Rat or any of those shit bands. So, I want to know what you think. What do you think about this new tune from Greta Van Fleet? What do you think about them? What do you think about the whole Zeppelin thing? Do you really think that they're as good as Zeppelin or even in the same ballpark? Put it down below. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. If you like it, hit subscribe too, and I will talk to you soon.